another golden calf for atheists has now gone down in flames, Carl.
Well,
except, yeah, this time it's a self-inflicted wound.
Oh, those are the best.
This week there was an atheist who decided to enter India, which is always a dangerous place for them because they end up just getting angry and cussing and swearing and leaving and calling us names and so on. So they can't win through brilliance, so they just baffle us with nonsense. And so I ended up asking this character, give me your best evidence for evolution. Just lay it on me. Give me your best evidence for evolution.
Right.
And he don't give me 300 different links to 300 different websites and tell me to go look at them, because I mean, let's be honest, you and I, we do the research. We read the actual science articles.
We know what they say. Yeah.
Right. And when you strip away all of the evolutionary presuppositions, you end up with articles that could have been written by Ken Ham or Kent Hovind. I mean, this is actually an example of one of those, because the example this evolutionist gave was whale hips on whales. Hips on whales have hips. Why do whales have hips? They don't serve any real purpose except, obviously they are evolutionary throwbacks to a time when they walked on land and they had legs. Obviously, Carl, right? Yeah. They have no use.
I would hate to have been around when whales were walking on land and decided they had to use the restroom. I would not have wanted to be there. Or even if they just passed a little gas or something. I mean, I would not have wanted to be anywhere near there. And you certainly don't want to have a cigar lit or something at about that time. I mean, I know it's silly. I'm just thinking in my mind of a whale walking around. Anyway,
yeah, but keep in mind, this is his best evidence.
Okay, this is best evidence. Billions of years ago when whales walked upon.
Right. And often And I was fully expecting him to say, well, look, bacteria turns into bacteria, therefore, fish turned into people, which is an obvious non sequitur. But this guy came up with the whale argument, and coincidentally, and this was an amazing coincidence, I had just read an article published by Discovery.com, Discovery.com, and, the Discovery Channel and so on. Yeah. They're not a Christian website.
No.
But this was amazing.
I call them non-discovery.com.
Non-discovery.com.
Yeah.
But they recently published an article about whales and their hips, and they write conventional thinking. Now, I republished this article on the blog, the PNM blog. People can go to ppsimmons.blogspot.com and read it. But I republished the article almost word for word, except I took out all of the evolutionary presuppositional language.
Yeah, and let me just tell people what that means. That means whenever you come across an evolution article and it says billions of years ago, well, now that's a supposition. I mean, that's we don't know that. And then if it says scientists believe, we think that it could have been. See, when you take all of those words out, what happened, Mike?
Well, we ended up with an article that could have been written by a creationist, and so I add in the proper language. I write conventional atheistic thinking has long held that pelvic bones in whales and dolphins, which is presupposed in the atheist community to be evolutionary throwbacks to ancestors that once walked on land. Whales walking on land are vestigial, and vestigial means they are vestiges of the past.
Right.
They have no current use.
No purpose now. Right. Mm-hmm.
Right. And will disappear millions of years from now.
Right.
But researchers and it's convenient to add the millions of years since no one reading this will be around
to
see it. Call them on it.
That's right. So if they don't disappear millions of years from now, nobody will know it. So man, they've got that wrapped. They've got that wrapped up. Yeah. Go ahead. But.
Right. And, people digging this stuff up out of the internet, thousands of years from now, if we're all still here, we'll look at that and go, hey, look, this guy was writing science fiction back, 1,000 years ago. But researchers from the University of Southern California now and the Natural History Museum of Los Angeles have upended that entire assumption. Mm-hmm. The scientists argue in a paper just published in the journal, get this now, the journal Evolution. Here comes the self-inflicted wound.
Okay.
That cetacean pelvic bones, cetacean animals are whales and dolphins and so on, porpoises and that. Pelvic bones they certainly do have a purpose, and that the purpose is specifically for mating. The muscles that control a cetacean's reproductive organs are attached to the creature's pelvic bones directly. Matthew Dean, assistant professor at USC College of Letters, Arts, and Sciences, and another guy, Jim Dines, they wanted to find out if the pelvic bones could be advantageous for impacting the overall amount of control these individual creatures have with their reproductive organs. And they spent years examining these things. They gathered as much data as they could, and they discovered that, in fact, these animals, these creatures, could not reproduce without these what they call pelvic bones. Mm-hmm. So the pelvic bones exist with an already existing, fully functional purpose.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
And then yes.
No. You go ahead. This is fascinating, and I want to add something to it. But you go ahead.
Right, and then they end it with this. This is amazing. They say, our research, now I'm quoting them now. Now, when I'm quoting them, I did not take out the evolution language, okay? Because I'm quoting them, right? Okay. They say, quote, our research really changes the way we think about the evolution of whale pelvic bones in particular, but more generally about structures we call vestigial.
Thank you.
As a parallel, we are now learning that our appendix is actually quite important in several immune processes,
yes.
Not a functionally useless structure.
Thank you.
They said. And you and I have been saying that.
We've been saying it for years.
For years,
I know.
Right, and now they're finally catching up.
And we've been made fun of, and we've been called names and all manner of idiots, but we were right and they were wrong. And the thing that I want to say is, so this whole thing of vestigial structure, see, this has been one of the main foundational proofs, and I'm making air quotes here, Joey, right? I'm making air quotes. He just gave me the thumbs up. Proofs of evolution. You'll see it in evolution textbooks right now, in school, right now, high school, university level, vestigial structures. Right. Well, what's that? Leftover from back when we used to be apes. For example, the appendix, it's listed. It's in the textbooks. Right. And now we know, out of the mouth of evolutionists, we now know that the appendix has a useful purpose. And then the whale hips, that was an example for ages. See, this proves evolution. Now the evolutionists are having to say, "Oops, we were wrong again." Right. And I'll tell you another one: the coccyx bone, the tailbone, the human tailbone, the coccyx. You can break that tailbone, boy. That's a mess, and it's very painful, and it's dangerous. But for years it's been in textbooks. See, this is a little leftover stub from when we used to be monkeys, and that's a little tailbone. No, what we know is that the muscles of the elimination system, our elimination system, attached to that tailbone, if you take that tailbone away and tear away the muscles that are attached to it, you're going to have a hard time using the restroom. I mean, it serves a useful purpose. We did not come from monkeys.
Right. And the takeaway there, the key word you mentioned, is the foundational evidences, and the foundations are crumbling.
Yeah. Professing to be wise, they became fools. We got to take a time out. We'll come back more with Mike.
Do you ever wish that you could more powerfully, succinctly, and accurately speak to the message of your Christian faith and the Word of God? This is the book you need, The Magic Man in the Sky, Effectively Defending the Christian Faith. This book has been featured on TBN, Atlanta Live, dozens of radio programs, and hundreds of markets. It was rave reviewed by the Washington Times, and it was called a must-read book. Considering the times in which we now live, you need this book. Get it today on Amazon.com or the WND Superstore.